I want to open up this video by saying one very clear statement. I was wrong about Ashes of Creation. Now, if you're new here, you may be asking, what were you wrong about? But, anyone that watches my streams a lot, which is where I produce most of my content on Twitch, they're going to understand what I was wrong about. But this is for all the people that don't watch my Twitch. So my background comes from mostly sandbox MMOs. I grew up on Ultima, played Darkfall for 10 years. And then as a streamer, obviously it's different. You can't just play old dead games that no one cares about, but I do pretty decently doing it. Yeah, not bad. So other games that I've streamed that I really find enjoyable or, exciting would be like Albion or Last Oasis or even Mortal Online 2, which barely has anyone still playing it. But the thing is, all of these games I've fallen in love with over the years, they've either died completely or died for me personally as a gamer, and they've all died for different reasons, just development choices or not being transparent with the community or just adding stuff that no one cared about, and we're all just like, why were you working on this? But everyone has their own experiences with why they are who they are, why they feel a certain way. So when I first heard about Ashes, I remember it was Lazy Peon's video that came out and talking about this crazy game that I was like, oh shit. And then the next week, Steven, the CEO, was talking to Asmongold and Summit, and it just kind of set off like alarm bells for me. Personally, because I was like, okay, this video comes out of nowhere that he says isn't sponsored, and he has all this insider info that no one else has, but he promises he's not paid and blah blah blah, and Steven's saying all the right things and stuff. So I was just like, sounds too good to be true. So I pretty much assumed it was vaporware. But as a guy that's into MMORPGs, and I'm even more of a black sheep in the gaming community, I'm into PvP MMOs, which I know very, very few people like, but I like what I like. It is what it is. So I'm just used to MMO RPGs changing direction on player bases and lying and working on other shit and all this stuff. So I just kind of thought it was a scam. The other thing is that a lot of people in my community bring me a lot of info, and I wouldn't even say they're my community, just people popping into stream and stuff saying things. And over the years, I've heard a lot of info about the CEO of Ashes. And I'll give you a cut. Like, I wrote it all out, like all the stuff that, was brought to me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't truly matter. Steven, it was very well known in the Arcade community, Lineage communities. I played on a server that he was on one time, and his character was clearly getting boosted by people, even though there was no pay to win. It was like the Gamigo or Tryon version of Arcade. And so, in my head, I'm like, okay, so the dude's a whale, whatever. Doesn't mean he's trying to scam us. Doesn't mean he wants to not make a good game. But, I was like, okay, that's one thing. And then it got brought up that Steven ran his guilds like MLMs, which are pyramid schemes for anyone who knows. And that's where he made most of his money, I guess, initially, starting off in his professional career. But again, just because you were raised in MLMs and all that stuff, does that mean you're trying to scam people in a video game? No, it doesn't, but it does, still give me red flags. And I think, I still hadn't written off the project yet, but when I really kind of wrote it off was just like all the content they put out for the game. Every time I would go watch it, I was just like, I can't tell if the combat's good. I can't see if they're actually making something. They were always selling a mount or a cosmetic pack, or, it was just, there was just always some other thing that they were selling. And so I just was like, man, they don't want our money, but they really want our money. And, all the videos we watch, Steven's got like GM controls on and stuff. I can't really tell what the game is or if it's good and blah, blah, blah. So I definitely just like wrote the game off after, I don't know, it's been like a couple of years since it was announced, or no, it's been more than that since the Kickstarter. It's been forever. But so yeah, I just kind of wrote off the game, and I told my community, I was like, well, I don't want to pay 120 to test an alpha because I think that's crazy. I still think that's crazy. But I was like, if you guys gift it to me, I'll do my due diligence and try the game out and see what's up. And my community decided to gift me the game, and I ended up trying it this last play test, which was from Friday to Monday. And yeah, I was wrong about Ashes. Now that I have played the game and I can see what they're doing, and I'm taking Steven a little more credibly, and the stuff he said a little more credibly, and after I watched him play out GM events and him RPing, was it cheesy and stupid? Yeah, but that, like, again, that is why I fell in love with MMOs. I remember I was like 12 playing Ultima Online, and they turned off the guards in a town, and then there was just monsters spawning everywhere, and there was a GM controlled mob that had rare dyed armor that it took a screen full of people to kill, and I just remember thinking like, wow, this is the greatest game of all time. And I'm not saying that Ashes is the greatest game of all time or even gonna be that, but it does really feel like Ashes is trying to be an old school MMO with AAA funding and a little bit more appetizing for a newer audience. I think most of us who are into sandbox games and sandbox MMOs, the graphics and the fidelity and all that stuff, like, it's nice when it looks pretty, but that's not really what we care about. What I care about are, what are the systems in play? What are people grouping up trying to do in the game? Is that captivating? Is that something I could see myself doing for a while? Is there risk and reward to the combat? Can people, become villains and heroes and all that stuff, right? And if you look hard enough, you can find that in every MMO, but not with the freedom that I want from, Ultima Online, Darkfall, Albion, those types of games, where it's really it's a sandbox regarding what you choose to do, and you don't really follow a linear path like most MMOs. So right before we tried Ashes, though, I did say one thing, and I still, even after playing it, I believe this. And I think this is what I said. Even if Ashes does 50% of what they claim it will be a game I love, but ultimately a game that will fail to capture a young new market, or even people from the major MMORPGs like World of Warcraft. And I just don't think people that got excited about Ashes, a lot of them anyway, I don't think they know what the game is. I say that because, obviously they're adding newbie protection to people in the towns and stuff like that, but you're going to be able to be attacked outside of these towns and when you're farming, and there will be PKs when the game is actually launched. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if the public can handle losing their loot and wanting to keep playing a game. And it's crazy to me because there's so many games out there that people do lose loot, but it's not hard earned loot. So to them, like, Battle Royale is full loot. To me, it's barely full loot. Like, what did they actually lose? How much time did I take from someone else? Those are the type of metrics I care about. But I'll talk about what we saw in the test and what I think about it. I knew going into Ashes that it was missing the majority of its content, the systems, the map. What I really didn't know, though, is what they do have in is great. The classes feel really good at base level. The combat is the biggest takeaway. It feels very impactful. It's not fleshed out, I'll say that. And it's going to be unbalanced. We're adding multi-classing, all that stuff. But the bones of the combat, which is what I was most worried about, because it's what you're going to be doing the majority of the time in this game for most people, it's fucking good, dude. Like, it's good. Now, I don't know if they should even keep the action combat in. I think that's kind of like a bone they threw to people. So they're like, oh, it's not tab target. Look, I got my action combat. Like, great. whatever. No one realistically is using action combat when comparing it to tab if they want to be competitive. That's my firm standpoint on that. We're gonna, when we're judging what Ashes currently is, we're going to overlook the desync and the server issues because, again, it's an alpha. We expect that stuff. If you went into Ashes and you're mad about the performance and the desync and things bugging out or things not working, guess what? You shouldn't have bought into an alpha because you don't know what an alpha is. Now, I do agree that they've been working on this game for years, so people are probably judging them a bit harsher, especially with how much money they've raised and all that stuff, but this was an alpha. I felt like I've been in MMO alphas, dude. They're very rough. A lot of things don't work. Usually the combat doesn't feel good. So to me, the alpha combat feeling good was a massive, massive boon to my opinion of the project. And again, class balance is irrelevant. We're getting multi-classes. It really just comes down to how it feels. And so you guys know that I tested it pretty thoroughly. I got to a level 11 mage within like a day and a half. And then I realized I wanted to try something else. And I tried a ranger and I got that to 15 before the playtest ended. So I took 2 different characters to 11 and 15 within 4 days. It's a pretty heavy grind. I played the game pretty much consistently and lost a lot of sleep for it, but it was worth it. What I did during the test was obviously grinding because you have to get your levels up to be relevant. But I am a PvPer, so I made sure to test those systems. We got stream sniped and killed a couple of times as soon as I started. Just someone flagging up and attacking me before I knew what was going on, which is fine. They're fixing that. That shouldn't have been in the game. I think that was obvious. The last day of the test, I didn't really want to keep grinding, and I just kind of went around flagging, attacking random people. People only fought back a couple times. Most of the time, people understood that if they attacked back, I could kill them. So people were kind of understanding of that system. It did feel good, though, being able to attack people and seeing how they reacted. Like, you could tell they were spooked. Like, we were in a node, and I just started attacking people just to see what they would do. The node system was in its infancy. We were in, like, a little tented area node, and then it kicked us out, and we came back, and it was like a sprawling town. That was really cool to see. I guess the node leveled up while we were in it. I think the world looks great. It's obviously not finished. I think that's obvious. Like, we're only seeing a portion of it. And the portion we are seeing, I don't think is done. Maybe someone can correct me on that in the comments. But it gave me like a classic WoW feel. And one of my favorite things about classic WoW, not being a WoW player, when I did play classic WoW, was when I went to it, I was like, damn, someone took a lot of time on this world and how these zones are set up and how the world looks and stuff like that. Like, I could tell they've been spending time on it. And so I think it's a really good setup for the MMO that Ashes wants to be. You know, you have a lot of different elevations, so you can have different tactics employed. You have multiple choke points coming into POIs. There isn't really just a one way in, one way out type deal. We don't have random, circles that flag us that people go in and out of. It's just an open world PvP MMO. I definitely ended the weekend test with a feeling of want, but what I was most happy about was the foundation of the game. 100%. Like, it's not done, it needs a lot more, blah blah blah, obvious stuff. But what's really important is that the combat and the classes felt good. The mob spawning felt good. When you play a Korean MMO and you just go to a zone and all the mobs are like it's just like a field of dreams and mobs are corn. And it's just everywhere you go, everyone's got their own pack of mobs. This wasn't like that. This was intentional spawns, named mobs, bosses in different locations that you would want to check out. We came out of a dungeon and the exit was out of a waterfall, right? And I was like, this is what I missed from MMOs, man. I missed what's over on top of that hill? What's over here? What's there? And like, I'm not saying every time I would go to a spot that looked like it was intentionally, a path kind of, it had something, but most of the time it did. And that comes from people that are gamers making video games. And that's ultimately what I want when I play a video game. You don't really want to play a video game and have the devs come off as like a detached book club that just reads books about video games, i.e. New World. You really want people that play this game, want to make this game, working on the game. I'm obviously been detached from the project, and I'm going to be more involved now that I actually know it's something I want to play and I care about. And I can just tell that Ashes is going to be the only sandbox MMO coming out that I know about that is even worth us looking at. Any other game I get excited about that has like a PvP focus that's an MMO, I'm always let down in some weird way. And it's just, or they start developing, you know, more for the PvE side of it because those are the ones making them money. And, you know, we've all seen that story happen a bunch. So I'm very excited for Ashes. I was wrong about it. My judgments of Steven, I think, were off base as well. You know, you can never really judge someone based on stories from other people. And after playing Ashes, it feels like Steven is a degen that likes the same type of games I grew up on, that wants to make a game that he wants to play. And I don't really think I can ask for much more out of a development team, you know? Like, I've been dealing with so much corporate bullshit with every game I play that I just want a game made for gamers. And it doesn't need to be the most it won't be the most popular game, by the way. It doesn't need to be the most popular game. It doesn't need to make everyone happy. It doesn't need to do a lot of things. All it needs to do is be a classic sandbox MMORPG with all the systems that a lot of us grew up on and loved. I think if you had any doubts about Ashes and you thought it was a scam or something like that, I can firmly tell you it's not a scam. I can tell you that I don't really agree with their monetization pre-launch, but their post-launch monetization I think is more than acceptable. And I'm very much looking forward to where Ashes goes, and I want to be a part of the development now, and I want to see the updates. I've been waiting to try it, and I'm very happy I did. I'm very happy my community gave me the chance to, and I hope you guys give the game a chance as well. And if you do want to give the game a chance, I would wait until December 20th, where you can buy into it, and it'll be wiped on the 20th. And they will have an extra class, and the tests will go from 3 days a week to 5 days a week. And they'll add the rogue class, I believe, and a bunch of other content. So what I played and tested was great. I don't recommend you buy into it for the weekend tests. I recommend you wait until they go to their next cadence of testing. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any comments, questions, leave them down below. And I look forward to see you guys all in Ashes of Creation, man. Godspeed, newbies.